sign-in sheet or you
I got one.
It's gonna be in the track thing.
Oh.
They can have their,
Oh, okay.
their insight spiel there or whatever, and then they would have to, that could go on for a while, they'd have to.
Okay. Yeah.
Because then it's way down on the agenda to.
Mm-hmm. Discuss. Okay. Sure.
All right, that's 30.
Yeah. All right. We'll go ahead and get started. Call the meeting to order. All board members are present. Matt, one of the bars, is on the phone here, so we'll stand and do Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Next on the agenda is open forum public input. So if anybody has, if you guys have anything to share today, okay?
Mr. Shepherdson, I suspect we'll do this here now.
Okay.
Okay, and then that actual consideration of that, a discussion item is down on the agenda, but feel free now to speak to that agenda item F, the dissolution of track and cross-country cooperative. So I'm gonna put you on the spot, so,
Not a problem.
okay? Come forward, please.
Where would you like?
Yeah, this right here. It's the hot seat.
Coach Digman and I first started talking about this, I don't know, maybe a few weeks left of the season, and it was just a matter of a couple different things that went into it. Just first one would be like getting kids into events at track meets. We have a great problem with our track team. We have a lot of kids out, which is awesome. That's what every track coach wants. But like you go to a track meet and say it's a middle school meet and you can put 4 girls or 3 sometimes, depending on the track meet, you can put 3 kids in the 7th grade girls long jump. Well, we might have 10 kids that want to do that in 7th grade girls long jump. Or high jump or the 100 or whatever it might be. Some meets let you put 3, some let you put 4. We have one middle school meet where between all girls, they let you put 5. Between 7th grade girls, 8th grade girls, you can put 5 kids. And then we have 6th graders also. And so that was, I don't know if that makes any sense, but just kids not getting to do the events they want to do. And then once they do finally get to do them, they've only gotten to do them once or twice during the season. You know, you plan on, I know Coach Oakley's here, she does the middle school entries for the girls, but like you plan on, you're going to Wagner on Tuesday and you got all these kids in these events, and then your next meet, which might be the next Tuesday or Saturday, you're going to let the next group do it. You know, so it balances out. You take all that time to try to get everybody in events, and then one of them gets canceled because of the weather. Happens every year, you know. So then you got that dilemma where, okay, so now you're going to get to do it the next meet, whatever it might be. So those kids just kind of, they don't get the opportunities to be in every event that they want to be throughout the year. That's one thing. And then we have that on the high school end as well. Just most high school meets let you put 3 kids in an event. So we can have 3 kids in the 100, 3 boys in the 100, 3 girls in the 100. And then kind of the same thing, just we planned on this is going to be a JV meet, this is going to be a varsity meet, and then the JV meet gets canceled or the varsity meet gets canceled. So you kind of have to work it around, and you know, some of those kids don't get to do the events they want to do. And then on top of all that, you try to spread it all out to get kids in events, and you might have kids in 1 event or 2 events is all. So, you know, so if Craig wants to be a long jump, high jump, and run the 100, he might get stuck doing the 400 that's it, because everything else is full. And I think I'm talking in circles now, but hopefully that makes sense. Any questions on that part of it? Just
What are our numbers, Coach Shepherdson? Give me just, doesn't have to be exact, but our 6 through 12 totality of kids.
this year we had around, I think the final tally was like 123.
So that's boys and girls?
Boys and girls combined, 6 through 12, and 6th grade is just Parkston. Ethan's 6th graders
Okay.
do not participate. And roughly 60 high school, 60 middle school.
60-60 then?
Last year, I think we finished the season with just over 100. I don't remember the exact number. The year before, I think we finished with just around 90. And I'm not positive on those. I'd have to go back on my computer and double check, but.
How's that split between boys and girls?
This year on the boys team, we had,
Roughly.
I'd have to look. I can't even tell you. Coach Oakley, do you know off the top of your head?
I can look quick.
Pull it up here.
What about the separation between Ethan and Parkston? Like, what's the differences of which kids are
I
from
think this year on the high school side, it was rough out of the 60-ish, it was 40 Parkston, 20 Ethan, roughly, give or take. So
where? And how about middle school? Do you know that?
I think it's about the same
Okay.
But that included our 6th graders.
with 6th grade, so we are going to have.
And
one
they
middle
did
school.
Oh, so it's
Yeah.
about probably 50-50 really in middle school without the 6th graders.
We had probably about 10-ish, 10, 12 10 or 12 6th graders between boys and girls. Yeah, so that was probably the first issue that we talked about, and that's both middle school, high school, just having trouble getting everybody in all the events that they want to be in. And then on top of that, with Parkston moving to Class B, you know, like Digman and I just talked, like, this would benefit both schools, that they would both get to participate in Class B, like, I don't know how familiar you guys are with the track in the state, but Class A track is competitive. It's very competitive, and we just said we've been in a good place. Coach Digman is a tremendous track coach, cross-country coach. You know, like the one time I said to him, have we gotten too big? Like, I think we've both built this program up very well, because he's been here before I have, and just said, have we gotten too big, you know, like, and our numbers are good here, et cetera, and, you know, we could.
How many
Coach
coaches?
Shepherdson, you have 84 Parkston kids. It was 45 junior high and 39 high school. Ethan had 42 kids. They had 19 junior high and 23 high school.
How many coaches are there?
We have 5 paid coaches and 3 volunteer coaches.
And of those, who is from where?
2 are from Ethan. 2
3
out
and 2
of,
is paid.
yep, 2 out of the 5 paid coaches are from Ethan.
Okay.
So 2 paid in Ethan, 3 paid in Parkston.
And when we combined, prior to the co-op, we had 4 here, total coaches.
This is probably a silly question, but I was just thinking about, like, if we did say we're gonna split, do we have uniforms? Or
No.
would that be an expense?
That would be an expense.
Would that be the only thing that would be different then? Is there anything else that you have to do, like, is there expense to
Being a
changing
coach.
any of the stuff at the state or any of that? Is that just you have to fill out an application or change or whatever, or what?
The process for the dissolution of a cooperative in any sport, and it only takes one school in order to do that. There doesn't have to be agreement between the districts in order to dissolve a cooperative. It's nothing more than a single piece of paper with a motion by whoever it is, and then a second, and then it's a roll call vote, you know, and you write that stuff down and you submit that to the Activities Association. In this particular situation, it doesn't really have a whole lot of implications at the activity association level, only because there's no more region track meet anymore. It doesn't make a difference to them if Ethan Parkston is Class A, or it splits and Ethan and Parkston go Class B. It has no bearing on how the activity association would operate and move forward from there. They want to know. I think Mr. Fisher, Dr. Swart has told us what, maybe sooner the better.
Right. He had said they have a board meeting at the end of June, but
Yeah.
the way it sounded, they would work with us, I believe.
I
haven't
think so.
checked back in recently with them.
Yeah.
If we did do that, are there supplies or like things that we use for track that were gone in together to buy?
I don't
No,
know.
the co-op, all the supplies and the equipment was purchased by Parkston. The rooms for state track meet is split a certain percentage. Travel for busing and things like that were shared expenses depending. It's gotten a little bit more shared because of the numbers now taking 2 buses. A lot of times it was Ethan and a Parkston bus. But we would split that. What else was split? Entry fees, registration fees were split 50-50. I think everything was the busing and the entry fees are 50-50. The state hotel rooms were 66-33. Share-wise, and that was mainly because we always felt we were probably gonna have a few more numbers out than they did. But then we always purchased all the shot puts and the hurdles and the blocks and things like that. That was never shared with Ethan.
Okay, so when we did do those, we made those acquisitions, there wasn't something added to the bottom expense line,
No.
and then we split that in half? Okay, so there would be no sharing of
No.
those, and the track in of itself and the equipment that goes with the track, such as hurdles, long
Yeah.
jump, high jump, pole vault, those types of things, starting blocks, everything
We
I
pretty
think
much have
belongs
those, yeah.
to.
Because they didn't have a track.
Exactly.
So they
They might
don't
have
have a
practice
track?
pit or something like that, but
You
they
don't have a
don't have a track up there.
Okay. Okay.
The same conversation is on their agenda tonight. You know, and I've talked with Mr. Hawkins more than once about the question as to whether there should be a dissolution of that. And I think there's a process that we have to go through here. It's not something that I would anticipate, nor would I expect, nor would I encourage you to say, oh yeah, let's call a vote, boom, done deal. That's not gonna go well. I think the notion of, and I told Coach Shepherdson this year and Coach Digman this, that, you know, this is something that has to get out in the public. It has to marinate a little bit. You have to let people discuss it. You have to let people weigh in on it. You know, we never really asked our kids where we were at, only because I didn't feel, and Coach Shepherdson and Coach Digman agreed, that it's not something you just want to drop the bomb on, you know, the week of state track meet, you know, or even during the course of the season. So it's something that if it does get out, a lot of those kids are going to be like, what? Maybe they've heard of it, maybe they don't, but I think there's a process in play here. And knowing that the Activities Association is willing, I think, to allow us to go through the appropriate process to make an informed decision as a school board in both districts, I don't see them, throwing huge red flags at that, only because I know if the opposite was true, we were trying to put together a track cooperative, I don't believe that application is actually due until like mid-winter if we actually wanted to do that. So I think the process has an opportunity to play itself out and go through the proper channels and get some feedback, from the community and the patrons and your students as a whole.
We didn't really speak to cross-country though, so how would that impact cross-country? What's
I
the
would
differences?
assume it would be the same.
About half and half, or?
Oh, numbers wise?
Yeah, like what are
I
the?
honestly don't know.
Our cross-country numbers aren't really an issue right now, but I think it was brought up that it would just, if we're
It
splitting
would
one,
be-
make sense to split both.
It's, from what, yeah, sorry, Mr. Fisher, like from what Coach Digman told me, it's the same thing, like the region cross-country meet, which is still in place. You have to place certain top, whatever, I don't know the number.
I think it's top 20.
It's like, you know,
It's top 20.
top 20.
In
so
your region.
Top 20 in your region to get to state, and then you've got to get how many overall? There's a top, how many teams?
I don't
Top
know on
three,
teams.
I
We've
think.
never had a team. We really haven't had a team for
Right.
the girls, so I'm not familiar with
And
that.
so when
Yeah,
Coach,
yeah, certain place.
yeah, Coach Digman and I talked, he just said the cross-country region is just like track. It's difficult, it's tough. You're talking Vermillion, Lennox, Canton, Dakota
Christian.
Valley,
Sioux Falls Christian.
Sioux
And
Falls
so
Christian.
B, we'll go to B in cross-country too.
Coach Digman said that that would be the same. I mean, I can't really speak for cross-country, but my discussions with him, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but he said it would make more sense to do it for cross-country also. Just for that same reason, like now your region is going to be Avon, Corsica State. I don't know who it would be, but it's going to be better. It gives kids like Ella Flores a better chance to get to
Yeah.
state. I'm sorry, my opinion.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, did that answer? I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah. I think-
So I think it would make sense as well as what Coach Digman said to also, if we were to do track, to do cross-country also. Just competitive wise, I mean, it's, I haven't even brought up Sioux Falls Christian, but it's, yeah, so. Don't need to go down that
Yeah.
route.
I mean, we talked as an admin and the coaches from both districts, and, you know, I mean, there's pros and cons to it both ways. There truly is. And I think we brought to light some of those things by the coaches, your concerns on this part of it, the number wise, the competition wise, the class affiliation that goes along with that. But there's some longevity to it too. This co-op has been together for 15 years.
Since 2008.
Yeah, Craig has told me that. So, you know, and I think at the time, doesn't matter what precipitated that conversation, it's something that has been in place for quite some time. And, you know, someone would question maybe as to the overall success of it. I think there's been good years, there's been average years, maybe even some down years amongst that, but that's within any sport. But
Yeah.
finding, is competition a factor? I don't know. I mean, let's be transparent about it. To some degree, yeah. I mean, we're competing against schools that were within the metro area that, while we have the numbers, it's the depth. And it's the depth within any particular event that probably tough to compete with. Where if you moved to Class B, and that's easy enough to do, you just look at the times in Class B, and you look at the times that you've run in any particular year, that a lot of times in Class B this year, I'll use an example of Coach Shepherdson's boys team, probably was in the running for a state championship based on times and the individual events. Now, woulda, shoulda, coulda, we're not talking about last year, I mean, but something to really consider moving forward. I mean, I have mixed reservations as an administrator to say yay or nay. I mean, I don't have a dog in the fight, so to speak, other than just being in the leader's chair, but I think there's a lot of components there that need to be considered. And nobody's suggesting that it's just easy peasy, boom, make a motion, be done with it, move on.
No.
It's something that has to be truly, I think, vetted appropriately and be considered. And Tim and I, Mr. Hawkins and myself, are on that same page. I don't know, you know, what kind of conversation is going to happen tonight in Ethan, but we both felt that as superintendents, we would not encourage our school boards at this meeting tonight to make a decision. So, but people are hearing it, it's gonna be out there. If they haven't heard it, then we can start, you know, people are interested, they can ask some questions. My suggestion is because it's only a discussion item that's coming up down later on the agenda, as we go through the process here in the board agenda, something else needs to be said, or, you know, consider it, and to me, you can make a decision at that point in time as to you as a board, which way you want to go with that moving forward. So this is obviously in an open forum session, so there's nothing to be no decisions right now, so.
Well,
But
just-
when we come down to the agenda item, then you have some opportunities
And
to do
that's
that.
just kind of some more thoughts I guess I have right now. Just when Coach Digman and I first started talking about this, it was, I think more of that coaching brain of ours was kicking in, like our kids, we could help our kids more if we do this, and I think that's how it all got started. Once we got going, then you start worrying about, the things you don't think about. The coaching brain is going, oh, we could do this, and, we don't have to compete against whoever, but, so yeah, I know we said it in our meeting the other day, just that we know there's benefits, but we also know there's drawbacks as well, and, yeah, that's kind of how we got going with all this, just getting kids in events and then dropping to Class B and trying to help kids be more competitive there.
Mr. Fisher, is that a 4-year? Are we in for the next 2-year cycles, think?
It really looks like it.
So about 4 years,
Yeah.
right? Well, then more than likely we'll go back up.
Yeah, after that, we will be for
Yeah.
foreseeable
Yeah,
future.
good.
But it's pretty certain that we would be there for 4 years.
B.
Class
B.
Yeah. Well, that was a helpful explanation actually, because being a middle school parent, I was trying to figure out what was going on. Burke would be like, I can't do this, I can't do that. I'm like, okay, whatever, I don't care. I don't care. But he was always like trying to explain it to me, and I don't think he understood. But I think as a parent, it's good to hear that. Just like it helps you understand why, like the challenges that you're up against as a coach. And I think probably even like you're spread pretty thin. It's hard to be able to help kids learn how to do a new event or do something they've never done when there's so many kids, which is awesome that there's a lot of kids, but it makes it hard to learn something new too.
Yes, it's the hardest part of coaching track, and nobody sees that, Coaching basketball, you see us on the sidelines coaching. We do a lot of our coaching sitting in front of a computer trying to figure out who's in what events and, et cetera. And it's very difficult. It is. And Coach hopefully can attest to that too. And it's very difficult. That's to say it bluntly.
Nothing more frustrating as a head coach in track, because I did it for 7 years, is right a meet, and then the weather kicks you in the butt. You turn around and you rewrite it, and it kicks you in the butt again. I mean, it's just highly, highly frustrating because you just run out of those opportunities. And oftentimes in track, very rarely do they get made up. Once in a blue moon, because there's so much going on, there's no place to find another opportunity to do it. So when canceled is canceled. That opportunity's gone.
And the spring is ridiculously busy with other activities, and you might finally get a good temperature for a meet, but then the kids at state FCCLA or something like that, which is great. So then they lose out on that. Or I don't know what the example would be, but there's other things where, lots of stuff going on this spring.
Okay. Well, thank you for explaining everything to us.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, we will move to number 5, approve agenda changes to agenda. We'll approve the agenda as is or with changes, and we do have a couple changes. Under action items, we're gonna add action item C, which will be approved mentor teacher program bills. And we're also gonna add action item D, which is to approve special ed comprehensive plan. So I just need a motion to approve the changes.
So moved.
I'll second.
Moved by Sean Feldner, signed by Proline, to approve the agenda with those 2 additions. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Are you still with us, Matt?
He's on mute.
Okay, I was just making sure you can still hear everything. Okay. All right, well, we have no new conflicts of interest that I know of, so we'll move to approve consent agenda. We'll approve the minutes from the May school board meeting, pay the claims for something.
Pay your claims for
We'll just pay the
this
claims,
month. You pay
yeah.
the claims,
Approve the agreement with Head Start, OHI, and DSS for services provided by the Parkston School District and declare listed curriculum items disposable.
Curriculum.
Oh, yes, sorry, geez.
All right.
Items disposable surplus. So A is approved May minutes, B approved claims, C approved Head Start classroom partnership agreement 24-25, approve MOU for our Home Incorporated Partnership Agreement 24-25, approve DSS contract for auxiliary placement services for 24-25, and F to declare items surplus.
Is there any questions on any of those agreements? They're pretty standard. We sign them every year. The claims are what they are, and then the items I put in your list, that's nothing more than a lot of it's technology, some Chromebooks and some smart boards, and we did a few curriculum resources in there, some English language arts stuff. So it's all disposable. They're worth no value. We can't get anything for them, so.
Mr. McNutt, on our home, I looked at that agreement, and do we sign a different one? Or is it that we've never signed anything over the years that actually shows what we get paid?
The rates will be approved later.
Yeah.
We approved the Our Home rates.
Yeah.
Now, there's nothing that we get, you mean, there's different ways we get paid from Our Home, from the state and different things like that.
You
But
explained that to me.
Yeah.
I just didn't see anything in writing
No.
here.
Not in this agreement. This is more defines on expectations between the school
Yes.
district and the services that we provide for.
Yeah.
The Our Home component of that, but then the rates, as far as our reimbursement, Craig probably gets I don't know, 3 or 4 different components of that.
Usually we do those at a July meeting.
Yeah.
We'll have to approve those here.
Depends on how the kids get placed there. Depends on how much we get back.
Understand.
So,
Yep.
you know,
Understood.
good question.
Okay, any other questions? Seen a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Pearl and seconded by Turner. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
All right, we'll move to information staff reports and start with the high school principal.
Oh, good evening. I guess I was at the middle school track meet during the May one, so it's been a couple months since I gave a report. End of school year stuff went pretty well. Graduation went smooth, I thought. Thought everybody, there was no hiccups, nothing like that that sprung up at the end. Semester test went well. Grades are put in, grades are complete. Report cards mailed out. Sent the transcripts to the Board of Regents, so really that kind of end of the year stuff is going pretty well. OH summer school started last week. Just talked to one of the teachers tonight. Gone pretty smooth. This time of year there's always a lot of transition. Students are leaving at the end of the spring semester and kind of getting placed as we head into summer, so we got a lot of new faces. Trying to build routine over there can be a challenge sometimes, but we got a science class and an English class being taught by Ms. Vandenhoek and Mrs. Bartelt, so we're going so far so good. As we try and finish up, on my end, I guess I'm trying to finish up the master schedule and therefore all the student schedules. Once we get that done, then my summer kind of begins a little bit, trying to get that finished. Couple little changes, obviously with the music adjustments and stuff like that. Now that we kind of got that settled, I'm pretty much at the finish line. And so we'll start putting student schedules in and sending out the master schedule and stuff, and should be done. Handbook wise, I did put some handbook changes. I don't know, do you want me to talk on those now, or is that an object item?
It's actually a discussion item, Mr. Knipling, so.
So we can wait on that part, but those are in front of you. Really, biggest thing is, I'm not changing a bunch. Last year we changed the attendance policy, changed the graduation, changed the schedule. This year it's on the bowling and stuff like that, and we'll talk about that. Big thing I'm going to try to do is reorganize it, so it's alphabetical. I've seen a couple different handbooks where it's just easier to find what you're looking for, and so as I reorganize and restructure, that'll be the big change as well. So get those summer projects done. I'm trying to still look at a few things. I know Mr. Emmett talked about the state's memorandum and how possibly the ACT could become the junior state standardized test. And so we've talked, and I've been in discussions with the ACT company. Gives a pre-ACT during the freshman and sophomore year that you can use to kind of gauge how they're going to do in their junior year and help the students prepare. So we've been looking at possible implementation of that. Hopefully we'll have some more information for you, maybe by the next board meeting, but it's looking like it'd be something that we can do and should do. So, anything else, other questions other than that, I'd be happy to answer. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Fisher.
I heard that master schedule.
Good evening. We'll start just elementary wise. Not too much to report. Year ended well. Same as Mr. Knipling, just wrapping things up, really kind of looking at schedules and already kind of getting that pretty much set in place. Rolling classes forward are things that I'm working on right now. Got figuring out where kids are going to be for classes and teachers and stuff like that for next year. Those are the things that I'm working on, but nothing real big or pressing as of right now. Numbers look pretty good. We didn't have a mass exodus or anything like that, so we should stay pretty consistent. Our preschool class is going to be a little smaller, and so we'll just have to adjust for that, but hopefully there'll be a big one behind it. We won't really know that until next January, so just kind of have to wait and see on that. As far as activities, I think the year ended really well. Our softball team, for being first year in existence, made it to the SODAC 16. So they were one of the final 16 teams. They ended up going to Madison and played a pretty good squad there, so they got beat. But overall, I think a pretty successful year. Went well, I think, with our co-op with Ethan. We actually played a game in Ethan, which I think was fun for the team to get up there and for the Ethan community to host as well. Heard good things about that. So year one, I would call a success. Girls golf was also going. We had 3 varsity golfers. I think they all showed growth throughout the year. Gracie Oakley made it to state and did well. I think she had PR on her last day, or really close to. Yeah. PR on her last day, so really exciting for her to be able to finish strong and finish a very successful golf career for her. And then, track did really well at state as well, with the boys kind of highlighting that with a 6th place team finish, which was pretty exciting. James Decker was state champion in the long jump, and then some really strong girl performances as well. So overall, I think really strong finish to the end of our athletics season. And then we're right into it. We're already starting in on the summer workouts have begun, and numbers are really good with that. I'm really excited about our middle school age kids. They seem like we got really good numbers there, showing up 2 days a week to get a workout in. And so I really think that sets the tone for us. And then our varsity kids have been here and working hard with their coaches, and so that's been going well. We're hoping, we got flooring coming, and I'm sure Mr. M will update this, but the flooring is here now for the weight room. And so that will hopefully be put down tomorrow, and equipment coming hopefully next week. So there's a chance maybe we could be in there in July, we'll see. But wrestlers held their camp in the new wrestling room, which was exciting. I heard rave reviews from the public on that. Everybody was very excited about being in that space and seeing what that looked like. So a lot of excitement there from the community. So otherwise, I think that's all I got. Any questions for me? Okay,
Thank you. All right, Mr. McKinnon.
I don't have much other than just CTE grant that we've talked about before, and I was talking with Mr. Schoenfelder and Scott here earlier before we started the meeting, but that's due on Friday. That number from Miss Ackerman, and she worked majority of the work on that, the paperwork on it to submit that CTE equipment grant, and adding the manufacturing component to our CTE programming. We had to jump through a few hoops to get that done. I think we'll be okay there, but we'll have to see when the grant is submitted whether we're awarded that. The number, I suspect, we're looking probably somewhere between $50,000 and $60,000 worth of equipment in order to improve our access to manufacturing, which a component of that is welding. A major component of that is the welding aspect of things. So we had to offer some things within our course classes, and Mr. Knipling will make sure that that gets addressed and get that taken care of. But cross your fingers and hope and pray that otherwise, the 3 strikes and you're out, right? This will be my 3rd time down this path, and I didn't do it right the first 2 times, so maybe Mrs. Ackerman's, or Miss Ackerman, so if we can get it done this time, so. Our accreditation review,
Mr. McKenna?
yes, yes, sir, go ahead, yep.
On that, is it just, is there a certain amount of money that's available, or?
Yeah, there's an entire pool of dollars, and what they allocate out per application, there's no really rhyme or reason. It's a matter of backing your way into the totality of the number. So we could get funded for a portion of it, or we could get funded for all of it. You know, it doesn't say you have to stipulate as far as, you can only have this much of the pie, so to speak. So, yep, good question. Our accreditation review, back in our March where we had our accreditation as a school district, you know, I put in my notes there that maybe it was in question only because we're waiting on a document that is out of our control, coming from a post-secondary institution that's down in Arizona for sign off on one of our teachers, going to be teachers, a certification. And I get it, DOE's got a job to do, but really our accreditation was really going to be held up on this one particular form. And it doesn't, we go on probation, and essentially we stay on probation until that form gets submitted. All the other documents that Mr. Knipling and Mr. Fisher and myself, as well as all the teachers, played a part in, the corrective actions that I had to do to all that stuff, or we had to do, it all passed. This is really about one form from a higher institution of learning that we have no control over, but yet they're not going to give us our accreditation. So until that form comes, I'm not worried about it. I suspect it'll come. The part that does worry me, and having talked to that institution, I finally found a person, a live person I could talk to, and they basically said, you're going to have to take this form and send it to this email address, and they will get to it when they get to it. I said, so there's not a person you'll let me talk to? Again, you can email this form to this particular address, and they will get to it when they get to it. So there's no person I can talk to. No, there's not. So that's where we're at with that. But we're gonna get accredited, I promise. So, but thanks to everybody that did a lot of work on that. And then the last thing I got there is just in your packet was your little flyer sheet. Put on your radar, it's Associate School Boards, School Administrators Joint Conference in the first week of August. So just put it out there. I think I included that. I didn't put the agenda or anything on there, but there's a deadline in there that come July, we'll put it back on the agenda for our school board. And you can say yay or nay. It's always a good experience. They always have great stuff there, you know, for school board and school administrators. So if something you can fit in, great. If you can't, I certainly understand that. So that's my report.
Okay. All right, any questions for him? Okay, we'll move to discussion items. Discussion item A is to review policy manual. The following ASBSD policies are being presented for review and a first reading for district consideration. EA, EB, EBA, EBB, EBBA, and they're included in your packet.
EA is support services goals, EB is safety program, and this is a new section now. We finally transitioned out of D into E. EBA is buildings and grounds inspections, EBB, accident prevention, safety procedures, and then EBBA is first aid. After having looked through those, read through those policies, they're in compliance. We are in compliance with what it expects as in your policy manual. So I didn't have any changes or recommendations to be made at this time. So essentially that's the first reading of those particular 5 policies. So.
Any questions about any of those? Okay. We'll move to discussion item B, to review policy manual. The following ASBSD policies are being presented for review and a second reading for the district consideration. DM and DN, which were in last month's packet. If there aren't any questions, we'll move on to C. Review policy manual. The following ASBSD policies are being presented for review and adoption and inclusion to the district's policy manual. DJG, DK, DLA, DLB, and DLC. So if there are no questions, I just need a motion to approve.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Moved by Chantal, second by Nebo. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
All right, we'll move to discussion item D, which is building projects. We'll receive an update on completion, change orders, and work progress for the current building project and the HVAC project.
Good news is I do not have any change orders to submit at this time. The HVAC project was essentially the south wing and the retrofit going on. They have every unit now, I believe, installed. So there's still some plumbing and the control aspect that needs to be done, and then there's some smaller things like some of the ceiling units, the grid's gonna have to be put back, those types of things. But Paulson was actually on the other project today, so transition into that. The fire dampers they arrived last week and they were putting in the fire dampers in that project. And that means the ceiling grid can go in down in the new addition. So I've been happy with Paulson's work, their timeliness, Ace Engineering as well. I've seen those people frequently and have been visiting with the project manager on it, and they're way ahead of the schedule that I submitted to you last month. So that's good news, and it continues, and I continue to encourage and compliment, and hopefully that is their MO through the rest of the project. So building updates, again, Mr. Fisher kind of referred to some of those components. I think I put a lot of that in my notes as far as where we're at in the entirety of things. We'll take over the fitness space here shortly. Push Pedal and Paul is supposed to be here tomorrow to lay all the flooring, or start laying all the flooring. And I think a week later, the equipment, all that goes that we purchased, that's going to go in after the fact. We were supposed to have the mirrors last Thursday and Friday that go on the north wall in there, in the weight room, fitness space, but I don't know what happened there. They did not show up, and they did not show up again today. Now, they've been told, they were forewarned several times, essentially if all this goes off and the flooring goes in and they don't get here and the equipment goes up, that's on you, man. Now you're gonna have to work around pieces of equipment to hang sheets of 12-foot glass. So that's their problem, not ours. And hopefully it goes well. But nonetheless, a lot of the trades are done down there for the most part. It's just tiny little things. The tiles in the bathrooms. They've the multi-use space, the netting is up with the exception of the circular netting. Baskets are up. Waiting to clean that up and get the flooring started, I think, next week on that. So, and then they transitioned into what was the weight room. That's all been gutted. The flooring is already done. All the chase work is done. The plumbing is in. And the block layers were in there today, putting up the walls that separate that space in there. And electrician will be there roughing all his electrical components in. So that's going to go relatively quick. The completion date is still the second week of August, but I honestly do not see anything that's going to hinder that from a completion. Maybe even a couple weeks prior to that. So let's hope and pray that goes well. So questions on either the HVAC project or the building project?
I haven't seen any numbers lately, Mr. Niffin. How are we doing on overruns and on the
So
project?
your contingency, nothing has really changed since the last time I did that. So the change orders that I have accounted for up through this time, we're probably still, the contingency is still probably a line item that has $170,000 plus in it
Okay.
as of yet. So, and I do not foresee anything
Anything?
that is going to disrupt that number greatly. I mean, we got lucky and we found the 4-inch that's gonna take everything out of the building, which that was a little bit in question, whether it was 4-inch or 3-inch. Thought maybe that got overlooked, but we were maybe a little bit nervous, Craig and I, about that, but when we found it, and they said the plumbers found it and busted the floor up and confirmed that it was 4-inch, here we go. So that would probably been the only thing that would have been, because by code, with adding that whole new addition to where that exits the building, you don't want to know where that exits the building, and you didn't want to know what was going to take to make it 4-inch. So prayers answered. So just say that. So good question though. Is that? Yep. Okay.
All right. Anything else? You good?
That's all I
Okay.
have for that.
All right, we'll move to E, discuss athletic complex master plan. We'll review the notes from planning meeting regarding the future development of a summer sports complex in cooperation with the city of Parkston.
I thought I'd have actual paper document to share with you. Scott and myself and Matt and Mr. Bruning, Mr. Knipling, Mr. Fisher met with city officials last week and Mammoth about the concept of planning process. I mean, I don't have to dominate that conversation. Anybody can chime in on as to what that process was like. I think it was very well done. It was very professional. They asked a leading question, and then they took response from all the people in the room. And I felt it was a very good conversation with all the representations in the room. And they listened and they took notes and had some discussions about the space that's out there. Gave some renditions as to maybe perhaps what it could look like with that whole concept when it would be said and done. But, you know, it's the concept of putting the plan in place for whenever it is the future would decide to board, city council, whoever, to move forward with such a concept. You know, and they're fully aware of that. Mammoth's fully aware of that, but it's important to have the vision in place. It's something that you could actually visually see, you could look at. And then, again, I've said this before, it's the line item. It's going to be this cost this cost this, almost to the point of this bolt cost 50 cents. This, yeah, I mean, that's how detailed this company gets, and the people that their vendors that they work with. So you can highlight, nix any item kind of concept. It can be a piecemeal approach. It can be an all-in-one compass type of approach, but it went well. Our next meeting is July 10th. And I know there's some people missing maybe here and there, but just like last week on the 5th, we didn't have everybody there either. There were some city people missing, but we'll never get everybody on the same page with the summer the way it is. So we're just continuing to move forward. So Scott, Craig, Adam, Cole, I mean, anything to add to that experience?
I thought it was very well thought out. I mean, I like that they asked us to consider from not only, you know, our Parkston admin hats, but also consider community, consider fans, consider coaches, consider little leaguers, high school softball players, high school baseball players. So I think looking at it from all those different avenues kind of opened up the doors to really dream big and really think about what it could be. So I thought it was a really fun process to go through, and be interesting to see what they come up with after hearing all those ideas.
I think there's a lot of potential in the project too. It's kind of exciting to think about the events and the possibilities that when this ever gets across the finish line, what it could do for the town and what it could bring to town. Pretty neat. So yeah, it was an exciting night.
That's what I was going to say. I like the opportunities that it would present to the area.
I was surprised that question came up, but one of their questions that they asked was, what's the potential economic or community impact of something like this? And until we really stopped and started processing that and started thinking about it and having conversations, I mean, we went from having games on 5 nights a week to being the ultimate destination for state tournaments consecutively and bringing large groups and numbers of people to the community, because it's one of those concepts, if you build it, they'll come kind of concept, but there's certain elements to state tournament hosting that you have to have in play in order to be able to do those things. But once we went down that path, it was like, I didn't realize how many things could actually transpire and come out of that if something in the future, that's something that the district and the community wants to, take the next step on. So it was really interesting.
It was, thus being centrally located and stuff like that, I mean, it just pulls everybody in, so it was good.
Is there any place that has something comparable to what you saw in the pictures, or?
They didn't really show a lot of pictures.
Oh, you didn't have any?
They gave a couple ideas of what we could do, but nothing. That's, I think, the July meeting is,
Oh,
they'll come with some
gotcha.
ideas and stuff.
On how many fields we're gonna have out there and that type of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
they'll come with some,
Some of the models were like a newer idea than, I think a lot of us came in thinking it was gonna be a central location, with a concession area, canopy, 4 fields hitting out, and it actually was the opposite, where if we wanted the big Taj Mahal of what they offer, it'd be a huge square of turf and the fields are hitting in, so that the movable fences can be removed and open up and just have a big open space that, that multi-use idea again came across. So that took a little bit to even just wrap your brain around, because it hasn't been done around here
Sure.
per se. Maybe Sioux Falls, I don't know if the Sanford stuff has that, but that's.
Their fields don't have removable fences.
Yeah.
And
So
they're
they-
the internal out
Yeah.
concept, they're not in,
Okay.
moving in, yeah.
So I think they've done one, is it Illinois or Indiana or someplace like that?
It was
that-
Illinois.
That he just got done kind of doing.
It was where Southern Illinois is.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Moline, Illinois, I
In
think.
college, or what?
It's right next to
City?
the
Yeah.
community.
It's
out
the
there.
city, yeah.
You probably look it up and see it online, I bet.
Yeah, they thought they would give us some pictures of that eventually, but.
Cool, okay.
The city seems to be, okay.
Yeah, I've had some private conversations with Mayor Semler. We visited about it, and their premise, very serious about it. Same process. I think our budgeting is different in how we do things versus how a city does things, to be able to, when we get to that stage of it, how to potentially fund it. But I believe there's leadership there, there's representation there within their city council that it goes back to the utilization of what it is now. There's so many things going on within those summer rec programs that there's just no way to make sure that all the bases, they do get all the bases covered, but I think it comes with a lot of angst, so they're serious about, when the time is right to move forward with that. So they're really going through the process, I think, such as we, to show me what it looks like first so you can give people a vision. And we talked about a 3-legged stool. And that means from a funding perspective, school district, city, and then private, fundraising concept, to everybody having not a piece of the puzzle, but playing a part within that financial component of what it would take to make this come to fruition, when they give us, here's what we think could happen out there, and here's the price tag for such a component. So, but yeah, they're very receptive to it at this point. So,
Sure.
but you know how that goes. You have an election tomorrow and done deal. Put it to bed. You never know.
They also talked about phases out there, being able to possibly doing it in phases, where maybe the final project isn't always in the first phase, but it could be built up over time
Yeah.
to get the important things done first and the necessities.
It's building blocks for sure.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, we'll move to discussion item F, which is discuss dissolution of track and cross-country cooperative with Ethan. We'll talk about the possible dissolution of the track cooperative programs with the Ethan School District, which I think we kind of mostly talked about. Was there any other thoughts from it? I don't know that we, like you said, want to make a decision tonight. Is that something we can table and bring back after we?
My
had some time to think
recommendation,
about it?
yeah, my recommendation as your superintendent is that something, if there's no more conversation, no more questions to ask, or no discussion amongst you guys as board members, is certainly, table it, and it's something you can bring back in July as another discussion item to see if it conjures up any more thoughts, ideas, feedback, things of that nature, so.
I'd like to get what Ethan School Board, what their
Sure.
thoughts are. Needless to say.
And one component that does not exist, I think, between the two school districts, and having come from here, from a district where we were a major part in the creation of that particular cooperative, what does not exist here is what I would call a true cooperative board. So we had a facet in that component where representation from one board, the other board, and met as needed collaboratively, where those people got together as a cooperative committee to represent conversation, discussion, thoughts, and ideas from each home district and brought it to that cooperative committee. So I haven't talked with Mr. Hawkins about such a component. It does not exist. I've asked, there isn't anything that is stipulated in any of our agreements with Ethan and everything that we do, but that's something that's part of it. But maybe that's something to hear it from the horse's mouth, that we create some sort of cooperative committee where there's representation from Parkston School District's 5 board, Ethan's Parkston 5 board members, where 2 of them from each come together, and with representation of admin from each, coaching from each, and have some conversations with that. So that's another idea potentially.
If I could, I would like to just add one more thing to that. I thought Mr. Shepherdson did a great job explaining it, and obviously there are pros and cons to both, but one thing that Coach Shepherdson and I have talked about too, that I think would be a pro for our kids, I just want you guys to think about this, is the fact that we aren't able to start practice till 4, because we're waiting for kids to come. And I mean, there are multiple ways you can handle that, but I think I've heard from our kids that sometimes that is a deterrent. I mean, that puts some stress on them, especially, when we're looking at baseball coming in 2 years, softball started now. I mean, to be able to start right away after school, get an hour and 30-minute practice in when you're mid-season, and then allow kids to be able to go over and play baseball, softball. Just something to think about, getting them right into practice where they don't have to wait around for an hour. It's just something that I've heard from our kids is kind of a thing that doesn't always make things the easiest for them. But there are multiple ways to handle that too. It's just how we handle it now, there's an option. So just thought I'd throw that out there. That's something we talked about and didn't get to when you're sharing. So another piece to think about.
Okay, thank you.
Table it?
Yes, please, yeah.
Craig, we don't need a motion for that.
Well,
do we?
it wasn't an action item.
No, so we don't
So,
bring it.
yep, it's just
We'll bring
discussion.
it back,
Yep.
All right, we'll move to discussion item G, review handbook changes.
Sure. Okay, so big thing here, our bowling policy was something that was just somewhat outdated. So trying to update that, like for example, it talked about always bowling method that was adopted in 2014. You're looking at 10 years later, and there's not even really any remnants of that left. So looked at Mr. Mickenden kind of gave me his bowling policy from Mount Vernon days, and kind of looked at that and used that as something I leaned heavily on. And so really, some of it says the same or very similar to what we had, but does just kind of update from a standpoint of what we would do and how we would handle it, what our philosophy is and what our stance is. I think one thing we still got to do is maybe look at a way to make bullying report online anonymously, stuff like that. So I think that's something we still gotta get done this summer. That's one thing. The next couple things, especially the second one, I guess, I don't know what you guys wanna do. I thought I'd bring this up because this has occurred in each of the last 2 years. Right now, when you look at our virtual school handbook policy, it basically says that the school will pay for any virtual school class that will go on the student's transcript. So that'd be anything through the Dial Virtual School. Okay, so each of the past 2 summers, you've had kiddos that failed the course during the year, then go and take this course online over the summer to kind of recover credit. And so, I mean, I guess, what is the school's stance towards whether or not the family pays for the credit recovery classes over the summer or not? And I feel if we feel that that response, that cost should be on them, we need to put it in the handbook, so to speak.
It wasn't. It's on them up front, and then if they pass it, then we reimburse them.
So it's been a while, but it's probably back to even a year ago or maybe in the fall of the year. But I have that document, Mr. Knipling, that outlines there's probably 2 or 3 different scenarios there as the responsibility as to, 1, what it is, 2, who pays for what and that. So with that, I can give you clarification, and then how
Maybe
that
we
will
just
be
gotta put that in.
inputted into your handbook will
It
represent
just,
that.
as I read
So-
the whole entire virtual learning kind of 3-paragraph deal, it just looks like it was built a long time ago. It's still talking about AP classes, which really, with the birth of dual credit, have just kind of gone by the wayside.
I remember cleaning it up when we actually present, I
Okay.
know we had a conversation about it and I brought it to the board, but
Okay.
it needs clarification for your handbook as to
Yeah.
what it is and who it is.
And maybe I just need to kind of take that one
Okay.
and marry it in there, so that way, when I'm communicating to the parents, I know exactly how to communicate it, and not have
Yes.
to walk back later. The third thing has to do with, basically where we're talking about the use of tobacco products. I added tobacco and nicotine products. With the rise of obviously vape pens, but also these Zins, which is kind of a tobaccoless nicotine product that is I think you'd be alarmed at the amount that it's being used by the youth. And so just wanted to clarify that if one of those situations, I've never caught a student with it, but when that arises, I mean, technically it's not a tobacco product, so I want to say tobacco or nicotine products, and I put, vapes and chewing in there. So that way, just kind of covers the bases on what I foresee being an incident in the near future probably. So.
Okay.
Any questions about it?
It's got and, you want to put or
For
to the use of and possession of
Tobacco.
Tobacco and
And-
nicotine,
and
or
or-
tobacco or
and or.
nicotine?
Yeah, I can adjust that. I'll just change that to an and/or products, including vape devices and chewing. Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Just your-
Oh, he's got some too.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think it's brief,
Sure.
so.
No problem.
I don't really have too much. I just want to update our mission. In the handbook that we had for elementary, it had mission statement. We've changed over the course of our strategic plan to a purpose statement. So I'd like to just update that in there.
Is it reflective of that then?
Yeah, just reflective of our strategic plan. I just want to include that in our handbook, so that's the only thing I have
Yeah.
for ours.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's what we have in our school, continuous school
Just our,
improvement.
like our.
Oh, the Trojan,
Yeah,
okay.
yep.
This part is.
Yep, all of it, everything that you see there is representation, that part of our accreditation, that was what was turned in, and that's what our school improvement teams have. They created that, so. Yep.
Yes.
He just wants that to be reflected in his handbook, so it's not
Okay.
in there.
Sounds like a place I want to hang out. Trojans. That's all the fun words, good words in there. Good. Thank you. All right, we will move to discussion item H, which is Maxwell Bower insurance review.
So, my last conversation with Mr. Maxwell, Mike was going to be here, but I ran a couple kids to Sioux Falls for school this morning, and then he showed up and talked with Craig. So, you should have those 2 documents.
This is the other one for Joe.
Thank you.
Anyway, Craig can probably speak more articulately to it about what those pages are, and we're not gonna spend a lot of time on it, because basically, these are the renewal rates that we're gonna be subjected to. When I say subjected, you don't have a choice. This is something that you're just gonna end up taking, because the clarification on this, EMC Assurance, they're the carrier in the state of South Dakota for any property where it's school related. There is no other carrier, period. There is no other player in town. It's one and done. So it's not like you can go get a quote from somebody else, because you can't. So it is what it is. With that, I'll turn it over to Craig, maybe do a few highlights there, and I guess what we're asking you is maybe take a look at this, and then we'll put it back on the agenda for next month if need be. Mike said he would come back in July, but he had some family thing come
Or
up
at the
and
end
he
of the
couldn't
month,
do it.
or the end of the month. we have-
Oh, excuse me, our potential end of June board meeting, that half hour where we usually do that. We balance the budget, we supplement, we do those things. He
Pay a
could
few
come then.
bills, yeah, he could possibly come then.
Yeah.
But,
Anyway,
so one thing you did talk about is, this is last year's. Yep, this is a copy of last year's rate, or what we paid. And then now you can compare that with that front sheet. It did go up from 91,000, right? 91 to 114, so that's, about a 20 to 30% increase. Of that, part of it is because of the valuation. So if you flip that stapled sheet, behind that is all the valuations. Now, I did not give you the valuations from last year, but that went up from like 41, 42 million to 46 million, our valuation of our property. So roughly about 10% of our increase is because of the valuation increase, because it's so much per million. And then the other 20% or close to 20% is just the increase that we got because everybody gets, because of the property, or just rebuilding and the expenses of that.
So is our,
And it hasn't slowed down.
so our new build is on this?
No.
It's not.
it is not.
That's what I was gonna ask.
Oh, good Lord in heaven and earth.
Nope. So you think about it this way. I might put it in good perspective with this. You think about your homeowner's insurance. You have a $300,000 house, and you might pay $1,500 to maybe $2,000 for the year,
Your premium, yeah.
for your premium. Well, when you divide this out, the 46 million of our valuation, it's $1,800 per $1 million. So $1 million house that you're gonna have and own, or we will own, is gonna be more than $1,800 for our homeowner's insurance, that was what he was getting at. And so when you look at it that way, was it undervalued to begin with, and that's the reason why? I don't know. For the last 5 years, but it's more because of COVID and the cost of increase of everything else. But
It truly is replacement cost. I wouldn't
Yes.
say you were underinsured, but what it takes to replace the building in its entirety 5 years ago versus what it is now is exponentially increased. Thus,
Yes.
you're going to see those premiums be reflective of that. And not only that, it's the losses that EMC incurred, not only in South Dakota, but when the derecho came through 2 years ago, or 3 years ago now, there was for sure 4 school districts that took it hard in the state of South Dakota. And some of them like almost wiped the whole place off the map where they had to start over. So they paid, EMC paid a significant amount of dollars in insurance. And just like anything else, everybody's got a share in the pain, right? So it is what it is.
yeah, so, I mean, that's what he gave us, and, you know, you can see the breakdowns for each one. If you look at,
You could do the comparative
Yeah.
on there.
Commercial
Some actually
auto.
went down.
I'd say that's about the same, 99, it was 94. And the majority of it is, I'm sorry, commercial property, 67 to 80, what, 87? That's up 20,000.
So when the new,
And that's the majority of our increase.
when this is, when you said we take ownership, when
Went
we
up 23,000.
are able to like use it,
Yep.
then is that when that gets added to this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Do we have a quote on that or know
Yeah,
what
not
that's gonna
yet.
look like?
Not yet. I mean, he can run the numbers.
$1,800 per million.
So another,
Yeah. So basically, you know, 6.3 to 6.3 times 18.
About 20%, so this is not shocking.
Yeah.
I mean,
We're looking at another, what, $6,000-7,000, I suspect.
Well, 6 million times 18, probably 10,000.
What are you doing?
well,
Might
it's
be.
not as bad as I thought it was gonna be actually.
I mean, if he's holding true to that if he's holding true to that 18,
Yeah. 18.
well, and you know, it could be a little bit different because you might, if it is just the commercial property, because it's, you know, the increase of this stuff inside and all these other little ones, the only one that's really probably going up is the commercial property line item, which is 87 million, right? So you take your 46 million, or 87,000, I'm sorry. 87 million. You take your 46 million and divide it by the 87,000 and come up with a number, and that's gonna be roughly close.
Okay.
Per the $6 million increase of the property value of that. I mean, the value of that, I'm guessing, is gonna be 6 million because that was what the bid was.
Hey, you know
Anyway.
you know what it costs to build it, because you just built it.
Yeah. If that makes sense.
Okay. So we'll table this and talk about this.
You know, questions, is there any necessity, do you want Mike to come back to explain some of these coverages and what they are, or questions with the numbers? If you don't, he's fine with that too, but he was more than willing to come back in that last week of June, and spend some time with you if you had.
And I have the packet, so I have the actual like values, the 4 million, you know, your linebacker, right? Isn't the one called the linebacker? Or the umbrella, the commercial umbrella, the extra 4 million if somebody were to get hurt on your deal. There was one thing I did not bring up, and that was the buyback. So our wind and hail deductible right now is 75,000. To buy that back down to 25,000 would be another $5,000. Right on, 5,164 or something like that. $1.64.
So instead of a $75,000 deductible, you could, premium-wise, pay an extra $5,000 a year.
I think that was for 10,000, bring it back down to 10.
Was it 10?
Yeah, because then he goes, well, we could take a look if you wanted to match up to the 25, it'd be maybe $35,000 or $4,000 or something.
Yeah, the 10 was for 5,000.
Yeah.
If you wanted to bring it down.
It's our roof NFL store.
So all
I
this,
mean, I know what shingles will do, but
It's not, and remember, the new riders and things with the hailstorms, it's not cosmetic damage. It's gotta be physical damage that causes leaks.
they've
some of
changed.
it,
Yes.
Hey, you gotta punch a hole in the roof.
yeah, that's,
Basically.
yeah, no, yeah, I,
Or something gets ripped off.
Yeah.
John,
I
you
don't
got
know
a
if that's
question?
worth it.
So is Mike, and maybe that's how they do it, but is it, you mentioned about the 75,000, so are all these quoted as total replacement?
Yeah, replacement costs.
So is there any deductible?
Yeah, yeah, I have all those in there.
So how big is the deductible for, just curious?
For the other ones, 25,000. Remember, we went from whatever to 25,000 last year
Last
to
year.
get it cheaper.
Yeah.
So our regular deductible is 25 for the commercial property.
Yeah.
Now, there's other different deductible line items for commercial
Yeah, the fire
umbrella.
blew up, whatever, that's,
Yeah.
you're gonna pay $25,000 up
Yeah.
front to get.
To get this
start fixing
place,
it.
this 46 million.
Right, so is there other deductibles available?
Yeah, you could change that to whatever.
I'm just curious.
With the buy down.
Buy down or raise it higher and,
Yeah, you can, I think you could take a look at even bumping it up to 50 if you want to bring this 114 number down.
That's what I'm driving
Yep.
at. I'm just curious. I realize it's 75, but that's not the 25,000. Right? Right, that's a whole different.
It
that's just
stands-
wind and hail only.
Stands alone, yeah, exactly.
So like when the pole vault pit, so you gotta look at the commercial property and then the part of that commercial property is all your stuff inside and all the stuff that just gets set out outside, like the pole vault pit, and when that stuff went, you know, with the garage show, when that blew away, we got a new pole vault pit, but it only cost us 5,000 because the deductible was only 5,000 at that time. That thing was a $20,000 package.
What numbers are you curious Mr. Pro, about, I mean, do
You
you
want
want to
us-
look at a $30,000 deductible, a
Yeah,
$40,000, a $50,000?
I just like to be, I think as a board.
And then compare them.
Yeah, we're gonna pay $23,000 more, and we're saying, oh, that's just insurance, and we're just gonna
Right.
pay it. Well, no,
Yeah,
I mean,
agree.
do I like insurance? No. But I think as a person spending our money here, we at least ought to know
Okay.
the other option.
And he could get us that before June.
Absolutely.
I mean, that won't take, yeah.
Well, like a question I have is, so like on the, you know, we got a $75,000 deductible. Our crow's nest is valued at $22,000. So the only thing that's gonna damn or take care of that crow's nest more than likely is wind. So if that blows over
You're talking on the east side of the field.
on the
Yep.
east side of the field, so if that blows down, the most we're gonna get is 22,000. Well, that's gonna be below our deductible.
Yeah, you wouldn't even,
You wouldn't recover, so do we?
well, you wouldn't submit that claim.
Right. So I guess what I'm saying is, so what are they charging us to insure that 22? Or
That's
that-
part of the 36 million.
It's a
Yeah,
a
part of the
package.
46 million,
So
yeah.
it's not a line item.
There's there are different packages, statement of values right there, and that's all included in that commercial property.
Right,
All
I
that
guess
stuff.
he's not showing us that to insure the crow's nest, it's
No.
$1,500.
No, huh?
No,
So I guess what I'm saying
Yeah.
is, do you take the 1,500, whatever, you take that item off, hoping that something doesn't come through and just wipe out the whole
I see what you're saying.
thing.
But if that goes, something else is probably gonna be
I was
pretty
just gonna
jacked up
say, you
too. I
probably
would
have some
assume.
other damage.
I mean,
Right.
I'm just playing me devil's advocate there. I don't know. Maybe
Sure.
that crow's nest
the
is.
same thing with Blue Shed.
Oh, blue shed, the ticket, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just saying all these little,
And I don't know if I don't know how much, but
it's just something to think
The-
about.
Well,
take
and that's
those
a
off or
question to
not,
ask, is if you drop one of those components of coverage on any one of those buildings that are out there, what is that doing to your overall premium?
Right.
And
Well-
is it gonna be worth that to risk for saving $1,200?
Exactly.
Is it gonna?
here's the thing, you're gonna have to come, well, here's the thing, in order to get that, if you, based on that $1,800 comment,
Mhm.
you're gonna have to come up with $1 million worth of stuff to drop just to get $1,800 savings.
Sure, I see what you're saying.
If that holds true.
Yeah,
Sure.
if that holds true, yeah.
But I, Mr. Pro, I think you're probably well-intentioned, and I agree with it as to what other deductible amounts can we look at, and how
Okay.
does that affect our total account premium estimate?
Yeah.
I think it's a great question to ask.
Sure.
So get those numbers.
So he's gonna come, or are you just gonna get the numbers from him?
Well, I'll get the numbers first, and then we can have them, and I'll send them out to you, and then we can decide if he needs to come on,
Okay,
whenever we set that date for sure.
Yeah.
okay, that sounds fine.
Does that sound, I mean,
What date is it?
our commercial auto deductible is only 1,000.
Oh, I was gonna say, I'm like, I don't know what date you're talking.
I mean, we do have full coverage on all vehicles except for one right now. And that's the old blue pickup. We don't have full coverage on that. Because that just doesn't get used that much. But some of those, I mean, that's gonna save you, taking off some of the full coverages on them, it might save you $300. In the grand scheme of things, they're still probably worth more than the $300 you're saving.
So you're budgeting a bit more.
Yep, I'll have to change that number a little bit.
Okay, all right. We'll look forward to hearing more about that then. Okay, we'll move to action items. Action item A is to approve financial report. We'll review the May financial report for discussion and approval. Were there any questions for Craig?
Big tax month this month. So that's the reason why the increases in the ending cash values. Plus I got the big title fund reimbursement for the general fund as well. Capital outlay is the combination of the two.
I wasn't, I should have done my due diligence, Craig, before the meeting here,
No,
but
that's okay.
I see the 37,000 in the school lunch.
Mhm.
Did we make a purchase?
No, that's because she didn't have, some of the bills didn't get in from last month.
Oh, okay,
Yeah. No, that was not a big purchase. That was just the end of the year.
okay.
I think if you look back and go 1 month sooner, if I remember right, it was pretty low. Let me look that up.
I thought we made a purchase of some.
No, we did not get, a new, not a new dishwasher, no, not yet. Haven't got the quotes back from the guy yet on that.
Any other questions?
I'm looking that up here, what's.
Oh, sure.
So do you think overall in the general fund, Craig, that we're actually, if you compare to other years, are we actually?
I think it's, yeah.
Do you think we're a little more healthier on there in that general fund?
If you compare it to May of 2023 at this time, yes. We'll see when the last, at the end of the month here, but I don't foresee a lot of big stuff. The sped one is probably the one that's maybe a little bit more of what that's going to be like at the end of the month. Finishing out some of these summer, or these out-of-district placements and stuff like that, billing.
Sure.
Because some of that was a little messed up there.
So
From their side, it had to go to Pier first, then to us.
potentially with the taxes as well as maybe our enrollment,
Yeah, well, that.
we just,
I would say that change in number, because you get in our state aid in any one given month from Department of Ed, is that number, increased enrollment is reflective in that number. It's not a number at the end that comes in one fell swoop.
No.
So you see the increases in there, in my opinion, that has more to do with the property taxes that you come in and assessed valuations that increased, that you garnered because of your levy within your general fund. That's how you arrive at a larger number. So assessed valuations continue to probably increase. So, and you're just adding more to the tax rolls as things get built. So, yeah. I'm not saying it's not because of increased student, but I mean, that'd be a number that hardly noticeable because it's spread out over the 12 months. You're in a good place, so that's the main thing.
right, because we were ahead in student enrollment, right? this
Yeah,
past
we
year.
were.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Schoenfelder, second by Turner. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
All right, action item B is to approve consolidated application for 24-25 school year. We'll vote to approve the district's federal consolidated application that governs the Title I program.
That's formality, guys. I don't have, the Title I application is, I don't know, 40 pages long, and I'm working on it. I bring it to you every time at this time of the year because technically in order for us to resubmit or submit for claims, it has to be approved before July 1 in order to do that. Legally, you couldn't expend any money out of that account if you don't have an approved application. So you guys need to approve it first, then it goes to the DOE and they approve it, therefore we can make the expenditure.
Okay. Anybody have questions? Need a motion?
Yeah.
So moved.
I'll second.
Oops, go ahead.
I'll second it.
Moved by Pearl and second by Nebo to approve the consolidated application. Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
All right, we'll move to action item C, approve mentor teacher program bills.
This is a document right here. I think Craig passed this out right at the beginning. I'll let Craig explain that.
Well, here's what happened is last week, Wednesday, Thursday, our teachers went to their end of the year meeting for their mentoring program. And we had 3 mentor teachers mentoring 2 of our own and 1 from another school district. And these are the expenses throughout the year then that we will get reimbursed from the state, which I had to turn those into the state by the 10th, which was today. But I also had to figure out what we paid them, so we had to pay them. And I got those after the board packet was done. Because they came back on Thursday afternoon and came in and met with me individually, and we went through, what did you do? Because I didn't have any forms from any of them about, some of the stuff was from last July that I'm paying them for. Because they didn't turn it in then.
Okay.
So I went back, we figured out what they did, their mileage driving to meet with their mentor, because the one gets paid mileage from the state to go to Woolsey, meet with her once a year, and then that person comes here and meets with her once a year, and so far, things like that. And then the meals accordingly, and that's what all those bills are for. So we'll get all that money back, along with, we gotta pay them stipends, that I'll pay out on June 15th of $1,500 a piece, and those will be approved during your deal at the next month, but then all that money will get reimbursed to us as well, plus the 13.65% for Social Security and retirement from the state. So
Okay.
you'll see a reimbursement of about $8,000 or $9,000 back from them overall.
Okay. Questions? Just need a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Prohl, second by Turner. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Yes. Motion carried.
All right, we'll move
Spell
to
Turner.
action item D, to approve special ed comprehensive plan.
Simple formality. I need a motion.
Just need a motion to approve.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Moved by Schoenfelder, second by Needle. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
All right, we'll go into executive session can we just go as soon as the room clears?
Recess right now. What time is it? 7:55?
Yeah.
Okay. There's no action after, right? There won't be any
So,
action after.
No,
So,
nope, this is good. So if you gotta go, go.